Investor Insights. Aim of what we want to do with the segment is highlight what other people are seeing, share our thoughts on what other people might be seeing, and sometimes, whether we agree or not, just discuss what's happening out there. And I mean, part of the Investor Insights is being able to then also shed some light on some serious matters. Perhaps let's start with the serious matters. Let's start with some of the warnings and some of the things that are out there. Nicolette, what have you seen this week?
FSCA, money muling. I think we take it for granted. I don't think people actually understand that you cannot move money for someone else.
And
it's drug muling, guys.
It's plain English. It's simple terms, right? And I think that's when you label it money muling, suddenly it has a name and a corporate identity and all of that.
You mean, sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you.
Yeah, Pietrie's back. Pietrie's seconded into this as well. He stuck around for a bit because it's his birthday.
So hang on. People are taking duffel bags of cash.
No.
How is this working?
That is the wrong political office.
Sorry.
Money muling. The FSCA has put out a warning saying that as an individual, you can't then go and take on funds on behalf of a third party for the purposes of moving that. So Jimmy phones Pietri, says, Pietri, there's going to be a transfer of 50,000 Rand that I need to deal with. I don't have the facilities to deal with it. Can I have this institution or this third party pay it to your account and then you pay it to Nicolette on my behalf? Now, you as Pietri are just like, oh, I'm just helping out a friend. There's no problem there. And then I say to you, look, it's 50K, but I might let you keep 5K of it because it only. But even if that part of the arrangement isn't there,
now it's called laundering.
I was about to say it just opens you up to washing machine.
That's it. Even outside of you taking a cut, let's say you don't take a single cent of it. What happens there is the paper trail doesn't link back to me
at all.
The point is you're facilitating a transaction that doesn't relate to you, that you shouldn't be involved in at all. And if that opens you up, or you can't evidence that I'm the one that did that.
What a lot of people did, and it's not so popular anymore, but because the Bitcoin arbitrage isn't as good as it was, thanks big institutions. What people would do is they would run out of single discretionary allowance.
Yes.
For the year.
Yes.
So then I'd give you, a couple of 100K and let you do it for me.
It.
And that is essentially what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Because that's like,
Can I tell you though what companies are doing? Big companies in South Africa find the process of onboarding vendors onerous, right? It takes too long. They want to hire you right now.
Yes.
Then they get someone else who's already onboarded. And I don't know now if that falls under.
That would be interesting as well, because that is an efficiency. But is that, I suppose from a money muling point of view, it was in an effort to tackle illicit activities. Because we're on that grey list, the naughty list and all of that.
So since the grey listing, the regulation there's been a lot of changes.
Yeah. Speaking of that, you say that, Pietri, and Nicolette, you're off to Namibia when we're done here.
Yes.
Don't be so happy. Enjoy the holiday, but remember,
good work.
Effective the 30th of September, it was supposed to be June, but now it's been pushed to September. EFT payments.
Okay.
So if you are working in Namibia and someone then sends you money, it's no longer a domestic payment. You are now in the realm of international payments. That is a new thing.
But is that not for all?
It's for the CMA countries. So the common monetary area being Eswatini, Lesotho, and Namibia.
So it'll be all of them?
All of them. Oh, in the past, when you used to, and this particularly applies to you because of the amount of travel you do, right? In the past, when you used to go and work or do a gig in Namibia, and a Namibian entity would pay you, the South African banking system and the common monetary area would read that as a domestic payment. So it's as if a South African business has paid you.
Yes.
Now it's going to be an international transfer. It is no longer going to be offshore payment. It's now going to come via SARB with the offshore regulations and everything, because that CMA agreement and all of that adjustment for EFT payments has been changed now, effective 30 September. That's why I said enjoy it while it lasts, because now it's going to complicate your life.
Yeah, it's going to make trade difficult.
Payments form and
yes, now it's now as if someone is paying you out of America. You got to declare where the income is, blah, 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 blah. And all of the headaches that come with that from an international perspective. I don't yet know how it's going to affect. I suppose it would affect single discretionary allowances, as Pietri mentioned, in the same way. So if you need to send some money out to Namibia, for example, then it's no longer just a standard bank to standard bank deposit.
When you swipe your credit card in another country, the bank reports that to.
It's an international transaction. Yes.
Uses your SDA.
Yes. But just because you're out of the country, that's why when you leave the country, you have to phone the bank. Hey, I'm
And
going to
tell
be
them, yeah.
exactly. But they read that as a foreign transaction.
No, I'm stressed. I do books
and you do
those,
a lot of
I do a lot of
CMA
work
traveling.
actually.
Yes, yes.
So that's gonna be very interesting.
Heads up on that.
It'll help
That's
with my
gonna
pricing,
be,
though.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I don't know how that's going to affect rates now, because if you think about something like the Botswana and Pula, which was historically slightly better, slightly stronger. Same with, I think from Namibia's perspective, the Namibian dollar. Now, those are no longer being pegged at 1-to-1 for those kinds of transactions. So now do we delve into the realm of
it's a bit,
It is, but yes, effectively.
I wonder now if all of these things have to now go through forex dealers.
They must.
So, for
It's
example,
an international transaction.
Can you still use rands though?
You probably could, but they'll be converted.
But you'll have
now,
still do an international SWIFT payment.
International SWIFT payment.
So what happens now to platforms like your MTN Momo?
Now MTN Momo is a cross-border.
Yeah.
It's a cross-border transaction.
Yeah.
They're clear about the fact that this is now a cross-border transaction.
Cross-border transactions for a while though. Right?
Yeah. So I think guys like MTN Momo and that would have an authorized dealer with limited authorities approval from SOB, an ADLA license.
So directly from there.
Yeah, so an ADLA license allows you to do these sorts of remittances and all of that. But the payment is now no longer going to be a domestic payment, and that's the big thing, I suppose.
It's going to be quite interesting because it's going to throw off all our pricings, and how do you regulate that?
How do you? Yeah, it's going to be mad. But I thought I'd give you a heads up.
Thanks.
I thought that would be
I
worthwhile.
appreciate it. Well, that puts a damper on my travels.
Let's see if we can come back.
When does it kick in?
30 September. So we've still got time. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Yeah.
So what are you putting on the wall? Are you excited?
Ooh,
It's been an interesting time in South Africa, I think.
It has, hey?
Yeah,
It really has.
yeah.
And there's so much that can go on the wall. There's so much, especially when we look at, there's so much that's been moving. It almost feels overwhelming. And Petri and I were just talking about this a little earlier, that some things are ridiculously cheap. Some things, even though they are not cheap, are still worthwhile to get into. And what do we have? What do we have?
I want to start off with looking at 10 billion people in the world in the next couple of years. Let's talk about food.
Okay. Astral Foods. Ooh,
I'm going to cheat you. Can I cheat? Can I look at charts first?
Yeah. Let's pull up a chart. I'm pulling up a chart as well while we do this. Astral Foods, I remember
in general, I like.
Yeah, I remember the 2 billion rand load shedding. That's the only number that sticks in my head. The stock did 16% last month. It's up 4% this month.
I think these are misleading numbers.
Why?
Fair.
Why do you say that?
Because everything off a low base.
Yes,
amazing.
no. Very right. To
so,
say
from 1 to 2
is 100%
like
gain.
100%.
100%, exactly.
And
if you think about
100 at one point.
Yeah, so if you compare, if you have to look at it year on year, right? So you look at August of last year, it lost 20% when I think it was around the time the 2 billion rand would have been announced, the hits that they were taking. So it came down to 140 rand, very low base. Now we're back at 170 rand, which is August last year's pricing. At this point, it'll break above 170, right? I wouldn't put it at my coolest point. I'm kind of neutral
Like
about it.
limbo?
I don't like getting into stocks while they're running. I prefer to wait until
you wanted
something.
to buy it off that 135 level. So I just opened it. It's kind of I just opened a chart and and I got a range from 135 to 190.
Yeah,
and we're in the middle of that range. There's no high probability set up here because you're in the middle of the range, right? But from an investment perspective, if we think that, hey, we're actually going to have electricity for a little while and the government of national unity is going to be a bit stable, then I don't see why not. It's above the 200-day moving average.
So we're neutral.
All right, neutral on it.
I think we're neutral on it.
Okay, neutral.
Bitcorp?
Haven't looked at that. Let me see.
Oh.
I mean, Africa is there.
Off the bat, I'd say buy. Eh?
You're buying?
Yeah, I'm very bullish South Africa at this stage. I think it's a bit unfair. I think I'm going to say buy to everything.
Okay.
I think that we've been in a space where we've looked at
how
the outside world is the
how strong a buy though. So if you are on buy, how strong a buy are you at the moment?
Because I'm disclaimer, we do not have it in our portfolio.
No.
So
this is someone else has got this in their portfolio, or someone might be thinking about having that in their portfolio. I think we're in the middle of a 52-week range.
Do you know what I like about this thing? Just looking at this, if you look at March 2022, 3 rand dividend. Then you look at September 2022, 4 rand dividend. Then you look at March 23, 4 rand 40 dividend. And then you look at September 23, and this year, 525. With a low debt to equity, it's probably one of the biggest or most important metrics you can look for fundamentally in a company. So the dividend here is growing. I like that.
Nice thing about our wall is that we've got a section of it for dividend growth or dividend stocks.
Yeah.
Let's put it there.
All right, speaking about dividend stocks, British American Tobacco.
Oh, BAT.
I'd buy.
You're buying everything.
It's like, listen, I'm putting it on my cool wall. It's coming on. Let's buy it.
You're just
I'm
buying
going to be
everything.
that guy, yeah.
You're buying everything.
Just collecting. For a couple of reasons. I think that, it's kind of recently just broken above a 200-day moving average. So I think we have a trend-changing scenario. From a very long-term perspective, it is technically in an uptrend since sort of the beginning of 2019. It's managed to make higher lows and higher highs over the very long. I mean, it's
You didn't see a change in consumers.
I'm going to agree with...
Going with wellness, man.
Nah, I'm going to agree with Pietri. It's bounced off 550. It's going to move up. Consumers... Look, we can talk about wellness. We can talk about better lives and all that.
And they'll be the ones to sell it to us.
Also, BAT has kind of moved away from just straight
the
cigarettes,
vapes
and they've gone into vapes, and that's
the
a whole
nicotine
trend.
pouches.
And all,
Yeah.
they're.
I think it's under them.
Is it under them? I
think so.
Because
Yeah.
I don't
See?
I see they're just sponsoring
a buy.
the living
Everything.
smokes out of the Formula One.
Okay, so we're buying.
Now we're buying.
Cool.
Okay,
Not
let's...
that we ethically agree with what they do, but we're here to make money, right?
Restaurant. I heard you speaking a little bit of banks earlier on.
Oh, we just
I'll
did a
buy.
deep dive into financials.
Are you buying?
Hey.
For sure, I'm
We
buying.
just did a deep dive into financials. Those are... Look, my only concern, and this is what I said about not wanting to buy at the top. It is at the top. That's 77 Rand. It's touched 80 Rand already this month. We are 5 days into the month. It's run 18%. But as Pietri said, context, right?
So yes, it's already up. But the point I'm trying to make here is you're saying, I don't want to buy at the highs. Do you know this is the high?
Well,
Do you know it doesn't end 20% up for the
That's
day?
true.
Well,
That's true.
in recent times, I mean, the stock hasn't been at 80 Rand ever.
Cool. So there's no resistance.
Fair enough. That's a fair point. That's a fair
Right?
point.
So there's nothing to hold it down. There's no predetermined levels where sellers are going to come in
That's
and say,
fair.
oh, this is buying. So buying into momentum, buy the winners, sell the losers. So one way of doing a bit of analysis, and it's time consuming, but you look at all the stocks compared to each other, right? And you look at relatively to one another, which ones perform the strongest, and you just buy the strongest ones.
Well, we're bullish on financial stocks. We're bullish on this, so we are putting this in the buy category.
Okay, perfect. Cool. I think maybe the last one we can look at is probably a family favorite. And I say family, and we are family. We buy cars.
Oh, the new listing. The new kid on the block.
New kids on the block.
There was that whole thing where we buy cars. We kind of had it fair valued around 25 to 28 Rand or whatever. I think we're at 27 Rand now. Where are we, Pietri? 27.10.
Can I buy psilocybin instead?
Oh, yes. I spoke to Gabriel. I like that. So we buy cars. I want to see a first set of results. I want to see a first set of independence from Transaction Capital. There's oh yes, we're positive about this. And you look at their month-to-month numbers or their quarterly reportings, and they are cycling through inventory at a really good rate. They are by far the biggest player in the used car space. But something in me just says, just wait a bit. Maybe it's being burnt by Transaction Capital.
Yeah, so Transaction Capital is one of those stocks that I was ultra bullish on. Made a lot of cash on it. At some point, it broke a trend line or whatever, and we sold it. And it's just caused pain,
suffering,
and it went from like the darling to a steaming pile of
something else,
something different. Right? And it's just the speed at which that happened was a bit shocking,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And essentially unbundling We Buy Cars kind of pseudo-saved them, if you will, right?
But you also unbundled your most profitable asset, and now you're stuck with an SA taxi debt.
Which is cool, but at least we can buy the most profitable
That's
asset.
it. That's it. This is why we're talking about that side.
My question
of it,
is that, like, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that I don't know if you've bought a car from We Buy Cars or if you've sold a car to them. Have you got any experience like actually working with them?
Yeah.
I sold a vehicle to them and I bought a vehicle from them and I was very disappointed. I didn't get a roadworthy certificate.
There've been rumors around
So it's
that.
like,
They need a bit of reputation management.
Maybe that's why I'm on the fence. Maybe
second-hand
that's why I'm
car
on the
salesmen
fence.
haven't got the best rep.
Cars that are on the road right now should tell you that We Buy Cars should be okay.
Yeah, because
basically
and people
where
aren't
they're gonna
buying
end
new
up.
cars. People aren't buying new cars because new cars are a whole lot of different expense.
Absolutely agreed. I mean, if you wanted to buy a new Bucky, it's like
expensive.
$1 million.
It's expensive.
It's mad.
No, it's expensive.
So yes, sure, there's a huge amount of growth potential for them, but I'm a neutral on it.
Yeah, we're neutral on it.
I want to watch it, see what happens.
we're
Maybe
neutral.
this is a mistake. Maybe it's a blind buy. But I think for now, it has potential to be great. But let's just see it.
So what's your
for a
stance?
year
Are you
or two.
buying? Are you putting
No,
it
I'm
neutral?
neutral. Yeah, I'm not
You're
buying.
neutral and we buy.
I'm neutral. I think there's other things out there that you might find better value on. But
It's a bit easier to understand. I mean,
Yeah,
some of
there's
the stuff that's
easier
freshly
things.
listed is that roll the dice.
Yeah.
It goes to the moon or
Or it
goes to
doesn't.
the trash can.
Yeah. But
Like,
the
we don't
advantage
know.
to freshly listed things, of course, that we must disclose here is that you're getting in at historical lows.
Yes.
It's never been that low before because it hasn't existed.
That's true. Yeah.
It's one way of looking at it. If you want to find an upside, there's an upside. But that's all we have time for today. I wish we had more time. We're going to have to find and carve out more time for these conversations. Those out there listening in, watching us and all of that, remember to follow and join our community page.
Yes, in the
Nicolette's
next
saying
conversation, we must talk about these actively managed change traded funds.
actively
It's
managed
actually-
ETFs.
Yeah, which is
Ooh.
quite interesting.
Okay. We'll add that to the list. Join our community page for all our updates. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. What's the other one? The TikTok.
TikTok.
We're going to do the TikTok thing.
Yes.
We'll be under Insider Exchange on all of them. Until next time, investing isn't hard. Just try it.